Thank you for joining IAB There.
Good afternoon and welcome to IAB's daily live stream in which we connect the digital ecosystem. My name is David Cohen. I am the CEO of the IAB, and on today's show, I am super excited to welcome a friend and a colleague and a business partner for years and years, Allison Levin from Roku. She is the Vice President of Ad Revenue and Marketing Solutions. I'd like to ask Allison to join me in the stream. Allison, welcome to the conversation.
Hey, David. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it is. It's going to be a great chat. We are talking about the NewFronts and the season that we are embarking on. And one of the things that I was thinking about as we were preparing for this, so much has changed in the past year, and yet some things seem to, on the surface, remain the same. The season that we are entering, the negotiation season, the broadcast upfront and NewFront season, seems to be reasonably intact. But we're going to double click on that, and we're going to kind of understand where you think and where Roku thinks things are progressing and moving. So let's start with that. How do you think this year's upfronts will be different?
Well, first I'll say thank you for having me. I know this is a topic you and I have been discussing for years now, so I'm excited to be back here chatting with you on the NewFronts and upfronts, and I can't believe it's been a year since we chatted on this. That year went very fast. Yeah. So from our perspective, I'm coming right out and saying it, that I think streaming is going to have a really serious seat at the table during the upfront negotiations, and it will be negotiated alongside linear. And sometimes I believe this year before linear. And that's a big change from what we've seen historically, where streaming was done after the linear upfronts were closed for the most part. And the reason for it is really simple. Agencies and clients' priorities have really changed in the last year, and they're not going back. The audience in streaming is growing, the product is superior and continues to get better. As we've talked about a lot over the last year, TV ratings are declining, the TV audience, the linear audience is getting older, the pricing is going up, yet streaming is booming, and the product allows for flexibility, it allows for better precision and measurement than you see in linear. And we're already seeing that come to life, from what we saw in the back half of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. One of the most interesting data points that we look at really closely is new clients that come to the platform. Mm-hmm. And once COVID, or we started to see clients come back from the second quarter COVID, we had more first-time new clients in the third quarter than ever in our platform's history. Wow. Clients that were hesitating for different reasons, for various reasons, to come to streaming came to the platform. In the fourth quarter, we had 100% year-over-year growth in monetized video ad impressions. The 6 largest holding companies all more than doubled their investment in the fourth quarter. And so from our perspective, this year's upfront is not even necessarily about the new clients. It's about right-sizing those budgets, and it's about buying TV like you watch TV. And this is the year that that's really going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said my entire career that, the industry moves, and we as consumers move, and we as an industry are fast followers, sometimes faster than others. So consumers have clearly spoken with their time and attention over the past year. And we as an industry, one of our jobs at the IAB is to make sure that we do everything in our power to reduce friction and make sure that we're able to move commensurate with consumers. So I know that, we're working on that. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. Let me talk a little bit about perception versus reality, because I think in a world where perception generally equals reality, there are some misperceptions, I think, hopefully you'll agree, in either the streaming industry all up or Roku specifically. Can you kind of point out a perception versus reality that you think you'd like to kind of address or change?
Yeah, I'd say we hear two that come up very often, and they've been pretty consistent since we started the ad business, 6 years ago. The first being that, does streaming really have the scale needed, or the scale that I'll get in linear? And from our perspective and what we're seeing, when you and I first started these conversations, David, years ago, Roku's active household accounts was probably about 20 million at that point. We're now at 51 million active households, nearly 150 million streamers. That's 34% more people than watched the Super Bowl this year. So the audience is massive, and it's about buying it in the right way. So that's one that is really important to note, that, I think a lot of times people think I want to make a big splash in a short period of time, and the only way to do that is linear, which isn't the case anymore. The second is around measurement. And there's been a lot of focus around making sure there's holistic measurement, making sure that you can actually measure the audience in streaming, and that streaming historically has lacked that. And that's just the misconception that's sort of been there, I think, from the beginning. And particularly us at Roku, we've been really focused on this in partnership with Nielsen, in partnership with other third parties, to make sure that all clients can understand how many households saw my ad, what is the ROI from that ad, and how do I optimize, whether it be post-campaign or in real time. So I think we've seen a lot of advancements in the measurement front, whether it be our new Nielsen partnership and others. And so there's just a lot of improvement there that's allowing brands, to your point, to eliminate any frictions to right-size those media spends to consumption.
Yeah, we're going to come back to Nielsen before we're done, but we'll park that for just a moment. Let's talk about Roku specifically. So latest developments. Honestly, I have been absolutely blown away by the speed and rapidity of how you have evolved the business over the past year. But talk a little bit about the latest developments on the Roku platform.
Yeah, it's been a busy year for us at Roku. We did, I think we only moved faster when COVID hit, which has been amazing to see. So I'd say to break it down to the three important different parts of the business. The first is the device business, and all the device business and the TV business is their full purpose is to get as many devices and many TV activations to get into many consumers' households as possible, because our belief is that all TV will be streamed. So Roku is the number one TV streaming platform. We're the number one operating system in smart TVs in both the US and Canada, which I think a lot of people still might not have awareness on, is how large that program really is. 38% of all TVs in the US were Roku TV models. And so that is just continuing to accelerate. And as we said before, we have over 51 million active households. So, what we saw when COVID hit is that, people who might not have had a streaming device went out and bought a Roku or bought a new TV because they were home. They wanted to set up their system in the best way possible, and they were cutting the cord. And so that accelerated. On the content side, there's been a lot of exciting areas for us too. Of course, the Roku channel, which is our owned and operated channel, now reaches an estimated 63 million people, more than doubling year over year. And so for us, that is been an incredible growth story, and we're now acquiring new, never been seen before content, whether it be Quibi or This Old House for the Roku channel. We're also partnering really closely with all of the channel partners that have launched on the platform. And I think one of the things that the ad community might not realize, but how closely we work with the Disney Pluses, the Peacocks, all of the channel partners to help them grow audience and retain audience across the platform. So that's actually a really fast growing part of our business, is to help drive those audiences. And then of course, on the ad side, which we talk about quite a lot, it's been a really amazing year coming out of COVID, record-breaking revenue in the fourth quarter, and then lots of new exciting developments, the Nielsen acquisition of AVA. We just launched a new brand studio. OneView is coming up on their 1-year anniversary and is going faster than the overall business. So a lot of exciting stuff across those three areas.
Yeah, that's amazing. When you add that all up, it is really just astounding what's happened over the past year. You've definitely put your foot on the gas in terms of innovation. I want to talk a little bit about one of the things that I really admire about kind of your ability to draw insights from what folks are watching. So through ACR technology or other means of understanding where the eyeballs are going, you have a unique insight into what's happening around sporting events, what's happening around tentpole events or award shows. Have you learned anything about that in the past, let's say, couple of months that would be interesting and insightful to the audience?
Yeah, and as we spoke about before, because of our operating system on the TV sets, we're able to understand everything that's happening on the glass, regardless if you're watching streaming or linear. And, we've always been helping clients on the measurement front. A lot of what we do is tied to measurement, both on linear, but also on streaming. And then since COVID hit, there's been an increased interest in understanding viewership behaviors that have changed on linear TV. Even, when states started locking down versus opening up, how did that change viewership patterns and behaviors? So we've been incredibly focused on helping our advertisers and agencies with these insights. Most recently for March Madness, we took a look, of course, at 2019 because the tournament didn't happen in 2020, but 2019 versus 2021. And of the households that watched the NCAA tournament in 2019, 80 on linear, 81% of them did not come back to watch it again on linear in 2021. So that is a massive audience that has left. Yet on the streaming side, we saw streaming hours increase nearly 70% to watch the games. So what's happening is it's not necessarily that people don't want to watch the games, it's that they're watching it in a different way and they're moving to streaming. And one of the largest hurdles for consumers to really cut the cord was to understand how to get streaming, how to get live sports, how to get news. And so being able to plan that path or plan that connection has really helped consumers to make that move away from linear and start to watch live sports, live news, and others on the streaming side.
Got it. Yep, that's fascinating. I hadn't realized that it was so dramatic from 2019 to 2021. Let's talk a little bit about this. I'm going to get to a question in a second, so just go with me. It might be a little winding road. Privacy, identity, addressability, personalization, all of these things are thrust into the limelight every day. We at the IAB, the industry, is grappling with the changes that are happening with the deprecation of third-party identifiers, IDFA, et cetera, et cetera. You made a move, Roku made a move to get into the programmatic business en masse and force a while ago. OneView has actually been growing since then. Talk a little bit about what role does programmatic play in your world today and what's going on with OneView?
Yeah, it's as I mentioned before, we're just coming up on the 1-year anniversary of OneView, and there's been a lot of incredible developments and focus on our end on the product itself. We've been putting all of our data, first-party data, all of our measurement capabilities into the platform. And what we're really starting to see is budgets are coming not just from linear, not just from the TV side, but from social, from performance, and others. And so we're really excited with the progress that we're seeing to date. And we continue to see the programmatic or automated buying moving faster than the already fast-moving streaming business on our end, as advertisers want the ability to control their ads on their own, to have more flexibility, to understand performance and attribution in real time. OneView has been the platform to help them do that. And over the next year, we're adding a lot of new advancements to it as well. And one of them, of course, is the Nielsen 4-screen measurement solution that'll be in the platform to allow brands to understand in real time what's happening across reach and frequency, regardless of the platform or the device that they're buying on, all streaming, linear, desktop, and mobile as well. So we're really excited about it. We think that automated buying is the future, and that because there's digital piping in streaming, that buyers will want to be able to control it on their end. And all of that is really one of the key points of it, is that it is dependent on a first-party login, being able to be directly tied to a consumer. And it has two impacts: one on understanding measurement and having accurate measurement, and the other is being able to accurately scale your audiences in real time. And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that IP, which is a way that a lot of others in the space target in streaming, actually changes over about 20% every month on Roku's platform. So it is not an identifier that is stable enough to help with holistic measurement as well as targeting capabilities. And on the OneView side, the foundation of OneView is really built off of our first-party data connection to our 51 million active households. So we're really excited about the future of OneView. There's been a lot of great product advancements over the last year, and a lot more to come.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the things that I've heard Scott Rosenberg talk about is you want to be able to sell the way that buyers want to buy, or the way that kind of marketers and agencies want to buy. And it's not one size fits all. That you can do a direct kind of relationship with traditional kind of television buyers, linear television buyers, or move more into the kind of automated and programmatic space. So I think that's really, really interesting. I think the whole industry is going to be rapidly accelerating in that space. So definitely one to watch. Next topic I'd like to chat about, not that I'm such a great soothsayer or predictor of the future, but I remember vividly you and I having some conversations around content. And when is Roku going to start getting into the original content business? And it was so nice to see that there's a lot going on in that space. So talk a little bit about acquisitions of Quibi's assets and This Old House, and what role those play in your strategy and in the Roku channel strategy.
Yeah, this is I think early on we said, no, David, it's not a part of our part of our roadmap. It's not gonna happen. And then, we just launched Roku Originals, which is the rebranding name of Quibi content. For us, the first priority for the Roku channel was to be a consumer first product, to be yet another reason that a consumer would choose Roku over another device, and that it would be the best consumer experience, period. It's a place for advertisers, but it's really also a place for consumers. And we did not want to abuse that relationship too. So things like there's no pre-roll in the channel. We are really, really controlling for frequency across the channel. We make sure to keep the ad load down, and it's half of the ad load of linear. So all of those things were a top priority for us. And then the vast, vast majority of the ads, well over 90%, are all targeted to the right audience, the right moment. So making sure that the ads are relevant to the consumers. And then the next step of that was providing them content they'd never seen before. And, Quibi was a great way for us to do that. A lot of consumers have never seen the 75 Quibi shows. It's great content, award-winning content. We feel really confident that our consumers will love it. And so we're excited about that. This Old House is another great example. It's the original home improvement show. We already saw that it was in the Roku channel before, that Roku consumers were loving it. We know advertisers like to be around this content. So we're really excited for those, and going to keep our eye on how they perform, and are excited to bring them to the advertising community.
Awesome. So those are going to be sold as part of the NewFronts, upfronts kind of packages or programs?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, cool. You touched upon an area that we've been doing a lot of thinking about, which is there's ad-supported and non-ad supported subscription-based services. And, there's more and more options for consumers. Attention is a very precious asset. And we have to make sure that as an industry, we provide good ad experiences that are relevant and timely, and not bombard consumers with the same ad over and over again, compared to kind of some, let's say, cable television, which is 16 to 18 minutes of ads per hour. We need to make sure that we keep this world kind of sacrosanct and really value the time that consumers are giving us. Roku Brand Studio is kind of, I guess, one arrow in the quiver to get at that. Talk a little bit about what you're doing there.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're really excited about the brand studio, but also our brand experiences, which goes alongside them, our sponsorship business, because it helps with two key things. One, consumers often come to Roku and have no idea what they want to watch. There's so much amazing content on the platform, and sometimes consumers just need a better way to find that content. And advertisers want to be near that journey. The other area is that we know that advertisers, you had mentioned, we know advertisers want to tell a deeper story to consumers beyond a 15 or 30-second spot, and want to be able to do that in the largest screen in the home, in the TV screen. So with that, we launched the Brand Studio to help marry together our 51 million active households, some of which don't watch ad-supported content, and allow an advertiser to surround those experiences. And some examples of on how this comes to life is, one was TurboTax and what we did with them on the Super Bowl and March Madness. A Roku household turns on their Roku device, the largest real estate in their living room, and they saw TurboTax sponsoring March Madness, where to watch the games, as well as integrated branded content to make it really a 360 experience. Another example is thinking about like award shows, for instance, being able to sponsor, say, something like the red carpet, if you're L'Oreal, a hub that shows all of the directors that have won awards in the past few years, plus a co-branded video that highlights the best looks from award seasons. And all of that is done in a way that's truly Roku, targeted to the right audience at the right moment, and has full funnel attribution. Did that actually move the needle on people purchasing your products? How did it move brand awareness, purchase intent, all of the key areas that an advertiser cares about? So we're really excited about that. We believe that one of the key areas that will continue to innovate in the next year is creative storytelling. And we spent a lot of time thinking about measurement and attribution. And now it's time to really also turn to what is the best creative for streaming? How do we help brands tell the best story? And maybe it's not just what you had on linear. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's interactive. Maybe it is co-branded video that performs the best. So it's an area of investment and focus for us.
Yeah, I know you know this, but for the audience, we are working at the IAB on publishing some best practices in this space, because there is innovation, which obviously needs to be kind of fed and nurtured, and standardization to be able to scale the business. And there's kind of everything in between. So how do we continue to tell the best stories on these platforms? Roku being a leading key indicator of that. So we're going to be publishing something in the very short term. We're doing a bunch of due diligence to determine what is the best today, and a look at what's happening in the future. So that's an area we feel very, very passionate about. Let's turn topic to measurement for a second. I've been in this business for a long time. I have been talking about measurement since time immemorial. It has been a blessing and a curse and a challenge and an opportunity for a very, very long time. Roku early on acknowledged that there are some unique characteristics about the streaming space that we want to be able to glean those insights and that measurement, but there might be some others that want to look at things in an apples to apples way, look at it through a Nielsen lens, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about measurement and what you're doing today as you head into the upfronts, NewFronts. What role does it play in your conversations with the buy side?
Yeah, I mean, measurement, and you and I have talked about this as well, because I couldn't agree more. The number one indicator of someone that's going to become a repeat Roku client is if they have measurement in their campaign. Mm-hmm. And that's been the case since we started the business in 2015. So for us, we know the power of getting the data in the hands of agencies and clients and letting them see how powerful this platform really is. And so our number one focus to eliminate any hurdles or friction, to your point earlier, is to onboard as many measurement partners as possible. And whether that be Nielsen, which we continue to evolve our partnership there. We were the first to do DAR in streaming, and we're continuing to improve that. Yeah. And advertisers want to be able to buy apples to apples as a first step into streaming. And we understand that. We want to meet them where their needs are today. And so that's an area of focus, but also we're continuing to see advertisers want to be able to measure for lower funnel metrics. I think our Kroger partnership is a perfect example of that, where even CPG clients who typically want to buy anyone with the mouth are actually really leaning into Kroger to find the right audience who's in market for the product that they're selling. A good example is Campbell's Schneider's Pretzels. They leveraged the Kroger partnership we had to find people who were in market for pretzels, and the return on ad spend was 250% increase over a regular Kroger customer. And so one area is, how many times did you reach the household, period, regardless of what screen they're on, and helping advertisers move budgets in the way they need to. But another key area of focus for us is the lower funnel metrics that they also really care about, driving the results that they need to understand in order to increase investment. So it is just a key priority for us on both our measurement partnerships as well as our first party measurement capabilities.
Awesome. That's great. That's great stuff. Innovating on lots of different fronts. You mentioned Nielsen. We talked about Nielsen a little bit before. Let's just double click on that for a second. So you recently acquired a portion of the Nielsen business, and the folks that you acquired that for might not be who people might expect. But talk a little bit about why did you do that, and what are you going to be able to do now that you weren't able to do before?
Yeah, so we acquired the AVA business, and there's two key areas that of this Nielsen announcement that are really exciting for the ad community. The first being, even though we've talked about it today and we talk about it a lot, linear is declining as far as ratings go and audience size, but today it's still a 60 to 70 billion dollar business, and the vast majority of that business is bought on an age and gender, on demographics. And you and I have talked about this for years. My favorite quote that you've said, and I've stolen it probably 5 years ago, is that, buying adults 18 to 49 is like buying a family reunion. What do they have in common? And if there is a better way to buy the right audience, the right moment, you should. And so what we're so excited about is bringing the precision that we've brought to streaming to the linear space, allowing an advertiser to take the success that they've seen on streaming to finding the right person at the right moment, a cat owner with a cat litter ad versus someone who doesn't have a cat, and enabling that in the linear side. And one of the key components that Roku brings to this equation is the massive scale of our TV business. And so we're really excited to see that come to life. And we're hard at work getting that to market in the next year. So we can't wait for that. The other side of it is, again, on the measurement front, is deepening our partnership with Nielsen to help them have screen real-time attribution. And as you know, David, Coca-Cola doesn't care how many times I saw an ad on just linear or just on streaming or just on desktop or mobile. They care how many times my household saw the ad overall. And so with this new partnership with Nielsen, we'll be able to help them do this in real time to help optimize it as well, because that data will be in OneView's ad platform. So you can start to optimize reach and frequency as needed to find that right frequency or hit that right frequency target on a household level. So we think that's going to be a game changer for the industry as well.
I think both of them are. I mean, just for clarity, the first one is to be able to dynamically insert in a linear opportunity. That is what we're talking about, right? We're going to be able to.
Yes, DAI, and yep.
Which is amazing. I mean, we've been talking about that for ever. And to be able to do that at scale would be just a ginormous kind of accomplishment for the industry, especially as we've seen over the past year, the importance of dynamic messaging relative to the environment in which we're operating, right? Whether that is politics or racial injustice or breaking news, to be able to adapt that in near real time is really good.
Yeah, flexibility and precision, I think, were the most, the key two things that moved to the top of the need list in the last year.
Totally.
And those things will stick, and those things will now be brought to the linear side, which we're really excited about.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I've got maybe two more for you, and then we'll wrap up. Time, as I knew, time would go very quickly, which it has. I've heard this phrase, which not created by me, but I like it, that we're heading into the one fronts. That for a long, long time, there was the battle between digital and traditional, and there was the mudslinging and why we're better and why the other one was better. We're at a point where we're so far beyond that as an industry that we need to kind of think about the video marketplace as kind of one strategic go-to-market effort. And that has implications on budget allocation. It has implications on this moment in time. Does it make sense? Is there anything magical about May? Probably not. We are firm believers that over time, this marketplace will be an always-on, 24/7 optimized kind of world. But enough about me. What do you think about that? What do you think about the one front idea, the merging of the kind of just conceptually the upfronts and the NewFronts? Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think already, as to your point, both sides are doing this anyway, right? Like when we first started talking about streaming, it was probably us and Hulu who were really leaned into this market. And now in all the upfronts, every single major network has a streaming property now that they're talking about, right? So these worlds have collided. The importance now is, again, on flexibility, on precision, on automation. And so I do believe that it becomes one marketplace that is more dynamic. I do think some reservations will stay to buy certain events, certain high valued audiences. If you got a really precise audience and you need to lock it in for a certain time, I think that'll stay. But I do believe the rest of it will be more fluid. And advertisers have seen what increased flexibility looks like this year. And I believe that that's a priority for them. Again, it's a priority for us too, to help them get there. So yeah, we're excited about one more fluid market. I think it's the best thing for consumers to right size the budgets. It's the best thing for advertisers. And so yeah, I guess we'll see, but we're all for it.
Awesome. Amen. My last question to you is a bold prediction for this year's marketplace. So what do you think is going to happen? Give something that's going to make everyone stop and say, that's kind of interesting.
I'll say there's two things. One, we firmly believe that this is the year that the budgets will shift, and about 30% of budgets will move out of linear and into streaming, 20 to 30%. And then the second is, as we talked about a little bit before, but based on what we're seeing, I believe we're going to see a large migration out of age and gender buying and into more precise audience buying across all verticals. The ability to do it is here. The performance is incredibly strong. We're seeing agencies prioritize it as well with data companies that they've either acquired or started to stand up. And so I believe that we're going to continue to see this move away in places that they can, out of age and gender, and into targeting based on a more precise audience.
Those are good. I like that. I like the first one too. So I just want to say thank you, Allison. This has been awesome. I'm excited to see what Roku has up its sleeves for the NewFront presentation. And if anyone in the audience wants to kind of double click or dive into any of the things that we've talked about on IAB.com, we have all the NewFronts schedule, and we're just we're releasing a bunch of video streaming research in terms of usage and behavior and habits. So I'd encourage you to go and take a look at that. And with that, I will summarize and just say that IAB There is a production of the Interactive Advertising Bureau. Our show today was produced by Connor Healy, James Linney, Joe Pilla, and Loretta Bain. I'm David Cohen. Thank you for watching.